Hey everybody, this is Joe from the All in Our Heads podcast. I'm giving you a bonus episode this week, not of our cast, but a bonus episode of an old podcast of mine called the I Don't Know Joe Show. I did it for about a year where I interviewed people one-on-one about a variety of topics. This episode I'm giving you was my old sponsor from recovery, Freddie. It was a very good episode where we talked about a lot of things in life and just a real good heart-to-heart conversation. Freddie passed away this week, and it was very heartbreaking for me and a bunch of my friends who he helped out in recovery. He was a very great man, always had a lot of great wisdom to share, and I felt you can get a taste of that in this interview I did with him. So that's why I'm sharing it with you. I feel like anybody in recovery or out of recovery could get a lot out of this interview. At least I hope that's the case. So please listen to this episode of the I Don't Know Joe show from about 3 or 4 years ago. I think you'll enjoy it. I'm glad we were able to get this audio down and have a piece of him that could live on the internet so you can see what type of guy Freddie really was. So thanks for downloading. Thanks for listening. Check out this bonus episode.
You're listening to the I Don't Know Joe Show. Please welcome your host.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back. My name is Joe Fernandez. I'm your host, and as always, it's a pleasure to have you back. I got together with my good friend, Freddie. I met Freddie 18 years ago when I got clean, and he was my sponsor for a few years, and he really helped me out a lot in my life. I mean, people helped me out in my life, but Freddie like really helped me get rid of this trailer of shit from my past that I was carrying around up until the point I met him. He was a great sponsor. He was a great friend. Really taught me a lot of great things, and I was happy to have him on this podcast. We talk about everything from how we met to belief in higher power to. We talk about books, we talk about creativity, we talk about a lot of things, and I hope you enjoy Freddie. I'm going to have him on multiple times on this podcast. So I hope you enjoy this podcast. This may be just, I don't know, people in recovery will like this. We talk a lot about recovery, but I think anybody listening that isn't in recovery can get a lot from this podcast. So listen to episode 12, Your Own Worst Enemy. This is good. I just got my levels good. We'll try not to tap the table. Sometimes people like make a point.
Okay.
Tap the table and it was like boom, boom. It's like in your ear, and stuff. But that's just cool. I'm with my buddy Freddie. We're down in Seagirt, New Jersey, and he's been a friend of mine since I got clean 18 years ago. I haven't seen him probably in person 4 or 5 years.
4 or 5 years.
I think I ran into you on the boardwalk at Belmar one day with my.
I went to see at Clancy's one night.
You saw me at Clancy's. Oh yes, that bar gig.
Right,
yes.
at Clancy's.
Oh, wow, yeah.
When I first moved out, well, then that might even be longer.
Might even
be longer, because I'm down here now 7 years.
Yes.
And that was when I first moved down here.
Yeah, because I was really...
That was right after my mom died.
Yes. I was early on in comedy. That was a brutal night.
that was fucked up that night.
That was it, yeah. Whenever you're in a side room of a bar with a restaurant.
And especially that place.
Yeah.
Like, that place is a place I don't like going to, even just to have a drink.
Right.
Or something. And they have good food there,
yeah.
And I don't like going there because of the kind of crowd it is.
Yeah.
So I can imagine being a comedian and having to get up in front of, like, a Clancy's crowd.
Well, it's like, sometimes you walk into a gig and you're like, all right, where's the show? They're like, yeah, right there on the floor. You're like, what? There's no stage? No, just go in the corner there, tap that mic, and start dancing, monkey. And you're like, oh, boy.
I did two stand-up gigs in my life.
Really?
One was a recovery-oriented one. They called me at the last minute Roz was supposed to be the MC.
Raj G, the comedian, yeah.
And she was in some competition, and she had to go for the next round.
Okay, yeah, probably last comic standing.
So they called me at midnight on a Thursday night, and they asked me if I could be the MC and do 15 minutes on Saturday night.
Wow, how'd it go?
You know what? That gig went really well.
Yeah.
That gig went really well. But my stage was a folding table. I was standing behind a folding table, and they had a mic on the folding table.
Oh, my God. And there was a headliner and stuff? There was a...
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you remember who that was?
Sleepy?
Sleepy?
Some guy named Sleepy, like a brother from...
I never heard of him.
Yeah.
Sleepy. That's not a good name for a comedian.
Right.
You guys want to go see Sleepy?
And he was from... I think he was from Brooklyn.
Okay.
And supposedly at the time he had been doing the recovery convention circuit.
Oh, really?
But that went well.
Yeah.
But then my second gig, it didn't go all so well.
So off that gig, that's when you said, "Let me try."
Somebody
again?
asked me to come and do another one,
another convention,
another fundraiser. These were like convention fundraisers.
And how'd that go?
You know what? That one didn't go as well, but there was a professional comedian on, and he was like, "Don't let this bother you because these people are jerk-offs."
Right.
He was like, "It's not you."
Yes.
He said your shit was funny. He said, "These people are jerk-offs. I don't know what's wrong with them. I don't know what," he goes, "I don't know what drug that they were doing, but they need to get back on it."
Yeah, I mean, there's bad crowds. I mean, that's exactly how I got into it, doing the recovery convention. They called me up, do 15 minutes as an MC, and then I just kept doing it and doing it. It's brutal when you perform for people you know. Like that first time, sometimes you get away with a lot more than you normally would have with a room full of strangers.
Exactly, and that was a lot of those people that were in there were all people from Middlesex County that I knew.
Yeah.
So like I ripped on my buddy Tuvey, like, "Hey, look, Brian Tuvey's here."
You already had a rapport. They knew you were funny.
Look, Brian Tuvey's here. What are you out on probation?
Yeah. Yeah. And then at the second one, you're like, "Yeah, I'm done. I'm done. I'm not gonna do this no more."
Oh yeah, it was deflating, man. It was it was like, and I drove like up north to like Bloomfield area, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
Wayne or Bloomfield or somewhere in Essex County.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of. It wasn't even the Guido crowd because I know those guys up there. It was a weird crowd. It was like older people.
Mm-hmm.
That, there's that whole AANA thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, it looked like that this was like an NA function, and only AA people showed up for it.
Right, right.
So it was like all the drug stuff wasn't funny to them.
Ah.
It's like, what do I got to do? Start telling beer jokes or something?
Yeah, yeah. It's tough, man, when you're floundering up there.
And it was just like, I didn't know what. Finally, it was just like, okay, good night.
Yeah, that's it, man. You'd be like, all right, you guys, at least there was another comic to go after you.
Oh, yeah. If I was the headliner, I would have been up Schitt's Creek.
So, that's funny. I've known Freddie for 18 years. I've never knew this story.
Oh, yeah.
I met you, like, 95. I remember, you don't mind me talking about where we met, obviously.
No,
because what you were just saying, but, like, I remember going to a meeting in Saraville, New Jersey on a Monday night when I was new, and you came in, you're all tattooed up, and you sit there just like calm. I think you were like making jewelry or something. Beads. You're making beads, like, and then like people would be sharing their problems, and you would just like raise your hand, just like you were just one of those guys that always had like wrap shit up for me. Like I was all confused sitting there, and like you'd be like, and then you would just say something. Like in 95, how long were you clean in 95?
6 years.
6 years.
Yeah.
Wow. And it's 6 years. I looked at you like you were like a guru. When you.
I looked at me like I was a guru too, and I had a rude awakening. It's like one day you wake up and you find out, hey, you know what? You're not shit.
Right.
And that's when you can start really recovering. When you wake up that morning and you realize that, I ain't as grandiose as I think I am. Mm-hmm. And you start to get a little bit of humility, and that's when you could really start growing.
Yeah, totally.
Because at that point, I had done comedy shows and spoke at a convention in front of 2,000 people, and, I thought I had all the answers.
Yeah. Now, was that your first time in recovery?
Yeah.
Yeah. How old were you then? If it was like in '95, like when you got clean. When I got clean,
it was 6 months before my 30th birthday.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I got clean at 29 and a half.
29 and a half. I got clean at 20.
And I had been ripping and running for 17 years.
Yeah. And what was the thing that got you into recovery? What was
my moment of clarity was really powerful, and like I guess for any of us, it has to be.
Yeah.
Because it's what kind of turns us around. I was like they say in recovery, I was living to use and using to live, and that's all I was doing was getting high.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to work. Fortunately, I had a job that I could call my customers and take orders from them and call the orders into the shop, and I never had to leave the house.
Yeah.
And I had gone on a bender, and I came home one Monday morning, and it was my job to watch my son, Freddie, who was a year old. It was my job to watch him for 1 hour. I had to watch him from 7 when my wife left for work until 8. I could take him to the babysitter.
Yeah.
And he was a year old, and he was in his crib, and I was laying in bed and just like looking at the ceiling, and you know how we count the ceiling tiles and count the holes in the ceiling tiles, and I was laying in bed, and I listened to my son cry for like an hour. And all I ever wanted to have in my life was a son. And here I am, I'm listening to my son cry. And my brother was living with us at the time, and my brother kind of came up from his room in the basement. He read me the riot act, and me and him got into it. And I got up and I went in the living room. And instead of going in and checking on my son, who's been crying now for 2 hours, crying hysterically, I went in the living room and got high first. And when I took that hit, I was like, something's wrong here. And I took my son to the babysitter, and I came back home, and I made a call, and I asked for help, and they tried to send me to rehab and detox and every other thing. And my ex-wife worked for AT&T at the time, and I had the kind of insurance that you could go to rehab 5 times a year. And literally, you could have 5 rehab stays a year. That's what it was back then.
Wow.
This was like before managed care,
That's insane.
And I wouldn't go to rehab.
Nah.
And finally the guy talked me into going to a 12-step meeting, and that's what I did. I had no rehab, no detox, no nothing. I stopped at my dealer's house, and I got a big bag of blow, and I went to the meeting. That meeting in Sayreville on Monday night, and I pulled into the parking lot, and I dumped the whole bag out on a book, and snorted it up, and went into the meeting, and had shit falling out of my nose and stuff right in the middle of the meeting.
So you got to the meetings now. Like, what's your first reaction when you get into these into recovery? Now, you wanted to go there, so you went there.
Well, I wanted to get my wife off my back.
You want to get your wife off? Yeah, there's always some...
that's, she had pretty much told me either I do something or I get the hell out. I was treading on thin ice. I know that they were planning on locking me out of the house come this is November. Yeah. This is just before Thanksgiving. And they were planning on, like, January 1st, changing the locks on the house and I was out.
Yeah.
I was out on the street. Mm-hmm. And fortunately, I did what I had to do, and I cleaned my act up, and
it started going to meetings.
Started
going to meetings. Not like, when I met you, you're 6 years clean. And when someone's new, 6 years seems like 60 years. It's you can't believe
when you're new, someone with 6 months seems like a guru.
Yeah. And you always had like a lot of answers, and that's what. And then there was a time I had a few years in, you became my sponsor. I don't
think I had any more answers than anyone else. I'm just real good with common sense.
You're good at articulating.
Okay.
You know what I mean? You're really good at because it boiling it down to the common denominator. And that's why I had asked you to be my sponsor back then, because I was like, this guy just seems a simple way of like putting it out there. Like sometimes you'll talk.
Less is more.
Less is more. Sometimes someone.
It's the way I cook,
Yeah.
Like I know people who like I love to cook, that.
Oh, he's a big cook, man. He loves to cook. Everything he's ever made for me has been tremendous.
And everybody thinks it's like you gotta have, I got a lot of spices and stuff, but that doesn't mean I use them all every time I cook.
Right.
My cooking is like as little as possible. I try to cook with as few ingredients as possible and make it good.
Yeah.
Like some people. There's some people in the meetings that could talk for an hour and not say a fucking thing.
Yeah. I know people like that in life.
It's I'd rather just tell you to shut the fuck up and read a book than talk to you for an hour and have you not go home with anything.
Right.
I'd rather get it to the point.
Right. Especially for someone like me, that was good, because I glaze over fast when someone's talking to me. It's like you almost have to get to the point quick with someone like me, because the moment somebody starts rambling, I'm like, I don't know what the hell you're saying.
There's a guy that Billy down in Virginia, he used to say, the brain will only absorb as long as the ass will endure.
That's a true statement.
And when he would like speak at a convention, he would get up there and he had to have it. And at a convention they want you to talk for a while.
Yeah.
He would just do 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. He said, if I can't say what I need to say in 20 minutes, he said I need to shut my fucking mouth.
Yeah.
And he would always say, watch your audience. Mm-hmm. When your audience starts moving their ass from cheek to cheek, they're not hearing a fucking thing you're saying. All they're thinking about is getting out of the convention, getting a cup of coffee, going for a piece of ass, going for a swim, whatever.
Yeah.
If they're moving their ass like that, they're not listening to anything you're saying. And it's true.
It's true with a lot of things. A lot of public speaking.
Right.
Stand up.
Look in church, How many times have you been in church and it's like you're sitting there and you're real attentive in the beginning. I guess that's why they do the sermon and stuff in the beginning, especially like at Catholic church.
Yeah.
Because by the end, you just want to get the hell out of there. You're sitting there watching that parade of old people going up to communion. You want to get the hell out,
Yeah.
You want to go to breakfast.
Yeah. But you grew up Catholic?
Yes.
Yeah.
I was even an altar boy.
You were. I couldn't picture you as an altar boy.
I used to do the high mass in Latin.
Really? See, I grew up Catholic. I don't even know.
There was only back, this is in the late 60s, mm-hmm. There was only 3 of us kids that did the mass in Latin.
Yeah.
You got to chant the whole mass in Latin.
Right.
I guess it was easier for me because of being Portuguese and being able to speak Portuguese and having gone to Portuguese mass. The Latin mass was almost like the Portuguese mass.
Oh, okay.
A lot of the things you were saying. So
it's probably just a little things different. But
Portuguese is refined from Latin.
Yeah.
So the Latin mass was easy for me.
Yeah. Now, did that help you when you got in recovery, the Catholic upbringing, having like a higher power? And things?
Oh no, that made things worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had all that Catholic guilt.
See, that's weird. Maybe I do feel Catholic guilt. Like people say Catholic guilt a lot, and like it seems, I guess, when I hear people say Catholic guilt, it seems worse for them than it did for me. But I guess my Catholic guilt is I still have this ingrained in me that sometimes bad shit could be happening to me.
And here I was, Gina. Yeah. Gina is very devout Catholic. Both my kids are very devout Catholics. My kids both do not miss a Sunday Mass.
Really?
Freddie is a Eucharistic minister. When he was in college, he used to be in the campus ministry and give communion out. And here I am, I wanted to get as far away from Catholicism as possible.
Why?
You know what? Even as a kid, Catholicism just didn't seem real to me. Mm-hmm. It seemed like some kind of hocus pocus magic show.
Okay.
And if you study the origins of a lot of where the Catholic Mass comes from, a lot of it comes from the Druids and like witchcraft basically.
Okay, yeah. See, I never got deep into it.
They're like ancient rituals and stuff. Come on. It's not really Jesus' body there.
Yeah.
It's still a piece of bread. Okay?
Yeah.
Just because you raise the cup up like that and the guy rang the bell doesn't mean it's like flesh now,
Right.
It's really bread. It's symbolic.
Yeah. So you had a more realistic look on it. You didn't buy into it where it was you believed this shit really happened, but you understood it as maybe a path to living right and stuff, or?
Well, it taught me that there's other things out there.
Yeah.
And that's when I went on my quest,
Well, that's what's cool about you, because I remember when you were my sponsor, you have a whole you it seemed to me at the time you pick up a little bits and pieces of all these different religious or spiritual teachings and kind of make your own little thing.
Oh, I have a name for it. It's called eclectic fundamentalism.
Eclectic fundamentalism.
Right.
Explain that.
I've taken fundamentals from different places and put them into something that works for me.
And how'd you get into doing that? You just started reading and saying I'll take a little bit of this, I'll take a little.
Well, the old man was a big part of that.
Yeah,
because he was very into a lot of, let's see, what would you call it? Non-mainstream spiritual things.
Yeah,
like the Templar Knights and the Rosicrucians and. The ancient secret societies and...
the skulls and those things?
Well, the skulls were more of a political thing.
Yeah, you hear secret society, that's the first
right,
thing
the skull and bones, right.
Yeah.
They're more of a secret, more of a political...
More political. So what's a secret society that's religious?
Like the Templar Knights.
Knights.
They're, I don't know if you saw the Da Vinci Code.
Yes, okay.
They're the guys that supposedly... Indiana Jones always talks about the guys who protected the Grail.
Yes.
Those were the Templar Knights.
Okay.
But they were a secret society of knights commissioned by the church to make sure that people that were going on a pilgrimage from Europe to the Holy Land were safe. Okay. They were like the guardians. Mm-hmm. But... they saw an opportunity to bank a whole lot of money doing that because they were on the route that the spice traders and gold traders and all that were on, and so they banked away a lot of money. They were like the Shylocks for the Catholic Church.
Okay.
They brought all the cash in for the Catholic Church.
So you said old man Fred, your sponsor at the time, was into that stuff.
Well, he would say, "Read this book." And I would read that book. And from that book, I'd have 5 other ones that I had to read.
Right.
Because I would, this guy would reference somebody else. Now, I'd have to go out and find that book.
Yes.
And I have to go out and find the other book. Mm-hmm. You know my library that I had in the other house. I still got it.
Well, yeah, you gave me books when I was your sponsee. You gave me that Khalil Gibran book, the one with has the list of... it's escaping my name now. The Prophet. And I gotta tell you something. You gave me that book in the mid-90s. I still... I think I have a copy of it on my iPad. my iPhone, I still reference that in my life.
Yeah, I go to it all the time.
It's the weirdest thing. It's like I rarely look at it, but it's always when I'm in desperation. I like to look. I
gotta say that if there's one book that I could like call my Bible, it very well may be that.
The Prophet.
Yeah.
What did you get out of that when you first got introduced to the Prophet?
Again, he simplifies everything.
Yes.
He simplifies everything. Even though some of his vocabulary that he uses in that book, because of he's trying to make it sound, because that book was written like in the early 20th century, but he's writing it as if it was back in like Jesus's time.
Yeah. Okay.
So some of the vocabulary, maybe vocabulary is the wrong word. The vernacular.
Vernacular, yes.
Okay, that he uses in that was a little bit odd, but it made you think.
Yeah.
You know, like he talks about how, like for example, one that I can remember off the top of my head. He talks about how we raise our children, and he talks about how our children are the arrow, and we are the bow, and the archer is God.
Okay.
So God is shooting the children out there with our guidance. You know, but when you're reading it, it's a little bit confusing until you like break it down, and all of a sudden you say like, wow, yeah, that's it. That's exactly, you know, and that's how I raise my children.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm their guide. I sent them on the path that the archer, I gave him the strength to get down the path that the archer wanted him to go on.
Right. It was weird because I like, you know, and it says like God in that, but I was always like, that was a big thing with me in recovery in life, and what I find to be with a lot of people in recovery, the God thing. 'Cause I remember when I got to recovery, it's almost like at one point they preach like we're not about God and we're very much against it, but then once you're there, you're like, man, that word is said a lot here.
Right.
And it's kind of confusing, and I feel like a person like me, like I love...
And there's too many people there that, along with recovery, they get religion.
Yeah.
And they wanna make a big stew out of it.
Yeah.
And they wanna come in to the meeting, and they wanna like force feed you their stew.
Right. Yeah.
And I learned when I was young not to drink the Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I saw Jim Jones down in Guyana. Don't drink the Kool-Aid.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because it's... Like I said in one podcast, I never talk about my beliefs in detail in a meeting to this day, because I don't ever want people to feel weird about what they believe. And like... It's definitely an ongoing battle in my life, because I can never consider myself an atheist. I can never consider myself like a total believer. I'm constantly in this like, yeah, I don't know. Like even when I read something like The Prophet, when he says the word God, I just ignore it.
Well, that's part of the reason why the whole Star Wars thing became very comfortable for me. That whole concept of the Jedi and the Force.
Yes.
Because the Force is, you know, it's all encompassing. It's in everybody and everything. And it's not a being. Where in every religion that's out there, there's a being.
Yes.
There's the Buddha. There's Krishna. There's Muhammad and Allah and God and Jesus and Mary and Joseph and this was just, no, this is the Force.
Yeah, you told me about, like, when I was, when Freddie was sponsoring me and I was having a problem with higher power and stuff, we talked about the Force. And I remember going home, I'm like, all right, I'm a Star Wars fan. I can get with the Force.
I told you to go home and watch The Empire Strikes Back.
Yes. That's the first time anybody in any religious, any spiritual thing told me to go home and watch a Star Wars movie.
Well, if you look at the relationship between Yoda and Luke Skywalker, it's no different than a mentor and a student, a master and a student, a sponsor and a sponsee. Mm-hmm. You know, it's no different.
Yeah. Well, I think that's. I mean, it sounds almost corny and childlike, but I think sometimes I live like that, using the Force. Like, the Force guides me. Like, my body knows when I'm doing wrong shit.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I just feel it. And I don't know if that's something you're born with, or if that's something you're taught. If is conscience like something you're born with, or is it something you're taught? Like, you know, like, that's, you wonder, like, how do I, did you ever, like, know, like, someone's doing you wrong? Like, or you're in a bad way, and you feel it, and then it becomes true to you?
Yeah, but I'm a bit psychic, too, so that...
Oh, you're psychic.
Yeah, that's... I have, like, you know, a touch of that, like, I pick up things that a lot of people don't pick up. Like, it just... I could shake somebody's hand, mm-hmm. and just get a feeling, and turn to you and say, Joe, watch that guy, he's gonna fuck you.
Yeah.
And you're like, no, he's a nice guy, I know him. Joe, that guy is gonna fuck you. That guy's gonna screw you over. That guy's dirty.
Yeah, there's like an energy.
It just, exactly. It's that, it's the Force.
It's the Force.
You could read the Force. You could feel the Force. Like they talk about it in the movie. You feel it. It's something that flows through you. And you can feel that tremor in the Force. Like, if you're in tune with it.
Yeah.
If you're in tune, if you've gotten all your shit out of the way,
uh-huh.
and you could be really in tune with the forces that are out there.
Yeah.
When you meet somebody, you pick up their vibrations. You can feel their energy, and you feel that there's a tremor in the Force.
Totally.
And you know, I turn to people sometimes, and I have said it. I have said it to people in business situations. I have said it to people in social situations, romantic, like told women that I've met, like the women that I'm friends with, like introduced me to some guy that they're madly in love with.
Uh-huh.
Like, that guy's gonna do you dirty.
Yeah.
Oh, why do you gotta ruin it? I ain't ruining anything. I'm just telling you that guy's gonna do you dirty.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm on the money. Like some of the people that are real close to me know that when I say something like that, they're to like bet on it.
Yeah, and it can work in the opposite way too. Like, I have that.
I just wish it would work on the lottery numbers. You know?
Right. I know. I won $4
or the Kentucky Derby. You know.
Yeah. I guess then you'd use it for evil. then you'll be like Back to the Future.
That's the dark side of the Force.
That's the dark side.
That's the dark side of the Force.
Picking lottery numbers.
Right.
Well, because it's like when I was just thinking about the Force, like, there was recently an instance in my life where there was something going on where it looked like somebody was doing me wrong, like the perception of somebody doing me wrong. But in my heart, I knew they weren't. I knew it was my bad.
That's the day you called. Was that when you called
my buddies on the podcast?
Daphne, right?
No, that was a different thing.
Oh, okay.
That was a different thing. But like, there was signs leading to I was being screwed over. I didn't want to get into specifics, but then in my heart I knew it wasn't. But like, my mind was trying to attack me, like, you know it, you know.
By the way, I'm a happy guy right now. I want you to know I'm a happy guy.
You're a happy guy?
Because here's a bit of the Portuguese of me. Okay? I have this TV on with the Benfica game from Portugal. Okay. And I have that TV on in there with the Porto game from Portugal. And I'm a Porto fan.
Okay.
And Porto just won the game in there. And even though Benfica just won the game over here, Porto wins the championship. They took it away from them on the last week of the season. I love it. That's the pork chop in me, you know. It's Sunday. You come to my house on a Sunday, you know what? The only thing that's missing is a pot of something cooking.
Yeah. I don't even know what just happened there.
Okay, continue.
That was some ADD shit that just happened right there. I got to get back to the Force. I don't even.
Right, you were telling me about your situation.
No, but sometimes, like you said, you can read bad things. Can you sometimes think bad. Like I'm like my whole thing is like I was thinking a bad thing, but my force feeling was like they're not doing me wrong. Like I felt it in my heart, but my gut, but my intellect was trying to, or my lack of intellect, whatever. My mind can sometimes get me in problems.
You know what? Know where I learned that from? You know the guy Deepak Chopra?
Yes.
He does like those fun drives for Channel 13 all the time.
And,
I went to see him one time in the city. And he is an endocrinologist.
Okay.
So he studies the hormones and the glands and everything. That's his specialty.
Yeah.
But aside from that, he's an Ayurvedic medicine specialist, which is the Hindu religion's kind of spiritual medicine. You know, like the Chinese have acupuncture and like Qigong, and the Japanese have Reiki. Well, the Indians have the Ayurvedic. It's all spiritual and herbal medicine.
Okay.
And he says, when you have a decision to make like that, make the decision with your gut. Because your gut is more accurate. And somebody asks, well, why is that? The brain and the gut produce the same hormones to get your body and your brain to do whatever you need to do.
Okay.
The brain, through evolution, has developed doubt. And the gut has not.
Wow.
So the gut's more accurate.
That's very interesting, because I'm a bad decision maker. Like, I could toil over what I want.
Oh, you're like they tell Tony Soprano all the time. You're your own worst enemy.
Totally.
You know.
Well, you know me.
I have seen you come so far over the years. Okay, but there is one area there that I watch over the years, like when we were hanging out all the time, and now since I've been listening to your podcasts. Like sometimes I usually listen to your podcast laying in bed. And because that's my latest thing is instead of music at night, I listen to podcasts. I've always been a fan of talk radio. So podcasts are great because now I can choose the subjects I want to listen to.
Yes.
So like I listen to your podcast religiously. I haven't missed one of them.
Oh, thanks.
And yeah, all you people go out there and rate Joe's podcast on iTunes and everywhere else, on Twitter, and what's that?
Stitcher Radio.
Stitcher?
Stitcher. Yeah, there's all types of ways to listen. But yeah, rate it on iTunes.
rate this guy's podcast so he keeps on, and plus buy stuff on his website from Amazon so he makes money.
That's right. I got my guests doing my commercials. This is great.
But I hear you, and I want to like reach over to the iPad and smack it, and say, Joe, this is the same shit I told you the last time. Especially when you think you're dying or when you got one of your mysterious diseases. You'd be perfect for an episode of House.
Yeah. I used to watch House, and it would torment me.
Right. I think I got that.
Yeah.
But you beat yourself up worse than anybody else. Nobody beats you up like you do. And most of the time, you're the only one beating yourself up.
I know, man.
And there's nobody out there beating you up. So it's like, well, I got to do it myself then. It's almost like, well, I don't have anyone to have sex with. I might as well masturbate. Yeah. And that's what you're doing. You're mentally masturbating yourself.
Yeah, I don't know how to not. That's like the one torture.
It's part of who you are. It's part of who you are. It's you. Like, it's almost like that's what we've always expected from Joe. You always come out of it, but you gotta, it's almost like you gotta go from here to California, but you decide to go to Montreal, Canada first, okay? And then take a plane from there to England. And well, you could have just went across to California.
Yeah.
You could have taken the straight route. You could have taken the simple, the path of least resistance. Yeah. You don't like that. That's no good for you.
No.
Like I bet, you're almost like the guy who likes to drive in traffic.
Nah, definitely.
You know what I'm saying? No.
Like, I always take the more difficult route to get from point A to point B.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like you could be listening to 101.5 and they're telling you that the Parkway is bumper to bumper, but you're going to get on it anyway.
Yes. No,
because then you could be like, oh, gee, I'm on the Parkway. It's like, you know?
I battle that, man. It's like my biggest battle. It's like my girl tells me that all the time. She's like, why didn't you give yourself a break?
Right. Because you're an okay guy.
Yeah.
You're an okay guy. You know, like I as long as I know you. And it's funny, you know who was here the other day? Chef Leon was here the other day. And I was telling him that I was going to do the podcast. He's a big podcast fan.
Yeah, he messaged me.
He's turned me on to like several other podcasts. He's the one that turned me on to Joey Diaz.
I love Joey Diaz.
Joey Diaz might replace the Prophet as my guru. He said something the other day. Wow. He made a reference the other day on his last podcast to the movie The Pope of Greenwich Village. Yeah. And he said a line from The Pope of Greenwich Village that I've been saying, like, it's been one of my favorite lines for years. Mm-hmm. You know, it's when Paulie and Charlie get caught stealing from the restaurant. And Paulie says to him, what do you need a fancy suit for, Charlie? You ain't got a job to go to anymore. Right, because you got me fired.
Yeah.
But Chef Leon was here saying, we were talking about it. They asked me, how you doing? I said, well, he seems to be doing really well with the comedy and all this. And, you know, he's actually like out there on the circuit and, you know, doing real comedy shows where he gets paid for them and everything. And even he said it. He said, Joey's just a nice guy. Mm. He says, I've never heard anybody say a bad thing about Joe. And as long as I've known you, I've never heard anybody, well, maybe this one girl, but...
Yeah. It's always a girl.
Right. But, like, I don't remember anyone ever, like, saying anything bad about you, anyone bad-mouthing you. Because you're not that kind of guy. Yeah. You're not the kind of guy that's out there fucking people over. You're not the kind of guy that's out there, like, lying to chicks to get a piece of ass. Yeah. It's like, you're not out there, like, taking people's money or using people. You're not that guy.
Yeah.
To the rest of the world. But to hear you talk, sometimes to hear you talk, you are that guy.
Yeah. I know.
You're your own negative publicity.
I'm my own negative publicity. I give myself bad reviews.
Right.
Nah, so a friend of mine told me that the other day. He said you just have. He's like, you know, especially even when it comes to my performance, he's like, he goes, you do well. He's like, you do well on stage all the time. He's like, but you have no confidence off stage. Like, you are just.
And I know people that have gone and seen you do your shows and tell me that they pissed. The whole time you were on, they were pissing themselves laughing.
Yeah.
And I hear you sometimes even talking with the other comedians. And it's like, like, you know, like, I'm not funny.
Yeah. Well, that's
if you weren't funny, you wouldn't be doing it this long.
True.
You know, if you weren't funny, you wouldn't be doing it this long.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, you watch these jerks that call Gordon Ramsay up to come and fix their restaurant.
Yeah.
And they're all telling them how good their food is.
Yeah.
Well, if your food was that fucking good, you wouldn't be calling Gordon Ramsay because you got an empty restaurant. Because no matter how much of a jerk-off somebody is, if the food is good, people will still come and eat it. They'll come get it, take it home and eat it.
Yeah.
But if your food sucks, there ain't no reason for anyone to be there. If your comedy sucked, no one would come to your shows.
Yeah, it's a comedian thing. We're very, like there's, like, this, like, famous story that comedians tell each other where, like, a comic does, like, 2 shows in one night. Does 2 shows, 8 o'clock and a 10 o'clock. And after the 10 o'clock show, they both went pretty good. Some big, beautiful blonde girl with big boobs comes up to the comic, says, I loved your show. I want to take you home tonight. And he goes, which one were you at? because like we could be in a crowd and just see one person not laughing, and be like that. I think it's almost like in my life.
Well,
like,
it's funny because it's kind of like you went and found like a career that you could be Joe in.
Wow, I never thought about that.
It's like you went and found a career where I could feel bad about myself.
Yeah. Oh, you guys don't like me? I knew it.
And I didn't get with that until I heard you talking to some of the other comedians, and them, even Joe Conti said something about it one night.
Yeah.
And Gaffney talked about it, and even that what's the lady?
Elaine.
Yeah. She said something about it, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, then I realized, well, this must be a comedian thing.
Yeah.
You know, because even when you watch, like, Seinfeld, you know, he's always criticizing his own show. You know, like, I had this joke, but it wasn't funny. And then why'd you tell it?
Yeah.
I have this joke, but it's not funny. Then don't tell it.
Yeah. Well, I think the toughest part is, like, I mean, like, people tell me that all the time. They're like, don't feel that way. Like it was like my girl says that. Like, she goes, like, why don't you realize how good you are? She goes, just don't feel that way. And I'm like, oh yeah, I can write a New York Times bestseller. Joe Fernandez, don't feel that way. Like, if I had the ability to not feel that way,
how come women always have that answer? Don't feel that way. But let them suspect that you're banging their sister. Oh, don't feel that way. You say that to them. Don't feel that way. You get hit with an ashtray.
Yeah. But that's the thing. It's like it's like an involuntary. Like, I don't know if it's involuntary or just something I'm used to doing. You know what I mean? Like, it's such a tough thing to grasp. This negative energy I give myself. This and that's what I reach. I think, like, when I reach with the spirituality, I feel like sometimes I need it to, like, calm me down, because I don't want to go on medication to make myself feel good. You know, I'm like, it's weird.
It is, because it's almost like a catch-23. You know, it's like catch-22 plus one.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And I know I battle with it. I've been battling with it lately. You know, like. You know, me, like, with my hips now, I can't do things that, you know, I'm stuck in this house a lot, you know? Like, I'm at the mercy of the weather today.
Yeah.
The weather's been killing me the past 2 days. Mm-hmm. So, with, you know, bad hips, and I got to have 2 hips fixed and 1 knee over the course of the next year. But I get like that. I can't get out of the house. I want to go out or just want to do something. Like, next week's Memorial Day weekend, and the summer is starting here. I want to go out. Uh-huh. You know, the electric buggy here helps me, but I still got to have someone to go out with. You know, like, I still can't just pack up and go by myself. I got to load this thing onto that carrier in my car.
Yeah.
So what I've been doing, I've just been going out, like, here, and it's taking me out of that funk. Yeah. Because I've been getting into a funk lately, like. Mm. And then there's a whole nother part to it, you know, that, like, you know, everybody, when people hear that you're not well, everybody's like, oh yeah, let me know if there's anything I can do. Well, you know what? I got my living situation where I can live here without much help.
Right.
But what I need, though, from people is company sometimes, just whether it's a phone call, whether it's, you know, a visit.
Yeah.
And everyone's, yeah, I'm there for you. Mm-hmm. And then nobody's there.
Yeah.
But if they need something, they know how to come here.
Yeah.
But the rest of the time, you don't see them.
Mm-hmm.
And I try not to be like that, you know. I try... You know, I don't try to just go around people when I need something from them. I actually, for a big part, but I avoid doing that.
Right.
Sometimes I avoid asking people for help because I don't want people to think I'm using them.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, and I found myself getting in that kind of funk that you're talking about, like, you know, just being my own worst enemy. And I just started getting out, like, and the guy who's the maintenance guy here made 2 little ramps so I could get out the door here.
Yeah.
And I can get out the end of the path over here.
Yeah.
So I just going down the street.
Mm-hmm. Just get out. So, like, when you're...
Just going down the street, 2 or 3 blocks down the street, and turn around and come back. And do that a couple of times a day.
Mm-hmm.
Just to get out, get some vitamin D, some sunlight, and some fresh air. And it helps.
Yeah. Well, yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah.
But it's finding those little things, the simple things. It doesn't have to be something complicated. It doesn't have to be 6 years of therapy and Prozac or lithium or whatever. It could be something as simple as going out and just being outside. The other day, watching this, I put peanuts outside here on my deck for the squirrels.
Yeah.
And just the other day, watching the squirrels and the rabbits fiending after the peanuts.
Mm-hmm.
They were out here having a fight. There was like a gang fight out here. The rabbits against the squirrels, and the squirrels were taking down the rabbits big time because the squirrels will take the peanuts out over here, and the rabbits come by in the path, and they pick them up.
Yeah.
And then when the squirrels see the rabbits taking off with one of the peanuts. Like, they bum rushed 3 squirrels, like, bum rushed this rabbit the other day, beat the shit out of them over here. But it's even like things like that, just going outside and watching that go on. I got ospreys in the back here. They have osprey nests right here in the back of my property here. And, going out there and watching that osprey fly around and go back. The osprey's out there picking up food to take back to the babies in the nest. And just watching that thing fly around and soar around.
So you just go out into nature, and that helps you kind of just
go out in the parking lot.
Just out in the parking lot, but just go and get out of your head, out of your house, and just like the AI. I mean, I do that to a degree. I do that, like get out or like write. Sometimes just writing anything, being creative in any way helps me to get out of my funks.
The one thing I noticed, I don't know, when you say you write. On the computer?
Yeah. Well, I write by hand usually.
You know what? For a long time, I haven't written by hand. Mm-hmm. Because technology just took us over,
Yeah.
I got an iPad, I got an iPhone. I picked up the iPen the other day and just started writing on a piece of paper with a pen.
Yeah.
And it just felt totally, totally different.
Yeah, it is.
It was that... You know what? I don't know if it was that nostalgia... Mm-hmm. Of the old way.
Yeah.
The way that used to work just fine.
Yeah.
And picking up a pen and paper and writing it and seeing it there in my handwriting.
Yeah.
On that paper. Instead of seeing it as a font on a screen.
Yeah.
Made a big difference.
Well, sure. I mean, my thing, first off, when I type and write, I can delete in things and try and be too perfect when I'm writing.
Exactly.
Where I feel like when I'm writing on a pad and pen, I just go.
I could change it.
It's still there.
It's still there on the page.
It's still there because sometimes that original thought's good, and especially a doubter like me, I'd be like, oh, I don't like that.
And I can imagine, in the kind of work that you do, where you're writing material for shows, mm-hmm. being able to look back at that,
right,
instead of having deleted it. It's got to be beneficial, like you say, because the first thought might have been the funny one.
Right, yeah, I always keep a pad with me. I have a little pad, and then I write an idea in that, then I'll bring it to a bigger pad, and then I take it to stage, and I never write a joke all the way out. But even I'll write screenplays, or I'll just, or just anything. I think I learned writing in recovery, almost I started doing a lot of writing when I started writing about my life, and I find just the act of writing can sometimes just kick some, I don't know if it's something in some brain chemical that's I'm going to take you out of this negativity and
It's like my son Jonathan. My son Jonathan is doing the filmmaking and...
Yeah.
And he doubts his own ability and his own creativity.
Yes.
A lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I see it in him, and he doesn't see it in him.
Yeah.
And, it'd be real easy for me to tell him what to do. But then that's not his path.
Right.
That's my path.
Right. I think that's the path of the artist, though, because it's like you never you create and then you give it to people, and there's a paranoia of, are they going to take it? I mean, even before I was in stand-up, I would make a short film. I played a film festival, and I'm like, this is a comedy. If they don't laugh...
Just so you know, you're my inspiration for what I'm doing with him right now.
Yeah.
Because I remember when you made the film about the veteran.
Yeah.
And you had it in the film festival and all that.
Uh-huh.
So I told him that I'll finance a film festival film for him.
Mm-hmm.
I'll finance it.
Yeah.
But he's got to make a film festival film, and he's got to make it for the 2014 Garden State Film Festival.
Okay.
Now, I don't know if he's going to get it in there or not.
But you got to try.
I don't know if they'll accept it. But he'll make a film.
Yeah.
The object is to make a film.
Because you can only learn by doing it.
Exactly.
You can only...
And how many times are you making, even I do it when I'm cooking.
Yeah.
I'm making one dish today. Like, I don't cook by recipes. I cook from my soul.
Yeah.
So I'm cooking a recipe today, and I'm thinking of 3 other recipes I can make.
Mm-hmm.
Because that recipe, cooking that, made me think of 3 other ways I can go with this.
Yeah.
And in that creative process, like I know that it worked for me that way when I was doing photography work. Because photography was my love when I was young, man. It was my love. It got snatched away from me through some family stuff, and I'm not even going to get into that.
Right.
But it kind of got snatched away from me.
Uh-huh.
And I put all my photography stuff in a box and didn't open it for over 20 years. It was in a box taped up. When I lived at the house on Main Street in Sayreville, one day I finally opened the box up and I started dealing with my past.
Yeah.
And now, like, it's been a beautiful thing over the past few years since Jonathan has really gotten into it. There was a lot of my old photography stuff that he took, old school film developers and things like that he likes. Everyone is digital, and he's got himself a great digital rig.
Yeah.
But he took my old Minoltas. Mm-hmm. My old Minoltas, some of them that didn't even have light meters in them.
Yeah.
And he's doing pictures with them on film.
That's great, man.
He's doing film where everybody else is doing, switching to digital. He went back old school, and he's doing film.
That's awesome.
And it's like I had all this stuff here, and I gave it to him. Said, "Here, take it. Take this. Here, take this too." Help me clean out my closets a little bit, so. But it was, through that, he got this idea, and then he got that idea.
Yeah.
And it's funny, when we were in Portugal last year, right by the river, there was this old boat.
Uh-huh.
And I said, let me teach you something that I used to do. I would go, like, if I saw something that I wanted to photograph, I would go and spend 15 minutes looking at it.
Yeah.
And then I wouldn't look at it again for a month.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would go back and take the pictures.
Yeah.
I'd let myself think about the picture I was going to take for like a month.
Yeah.
And it was funny because we wound up leaving Portugal and not going back and taking the picture. Mm-hmm. And then we went back to Portugal 2 months later. And we were going to go take the pictures.
Uh-huh.
And we never made it there.
Why not?
And it was just, we just got tied up doing other things. Yeah. And it was this old wooden boat, and it was sitting all rotten on the side of the river.
Uh-huh.
Big hole in the side of it. We're back, I don't know, a few months ago.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody that lives over there had taken a picture of the boat that me and Jonathan were both going to photograph and posted it on Facebook. And I was like, holy shit. I sent it to Jonathan. He was like, get the fuck out of here. He's like, that's the boat.
Wow.
And I said, see, look, there's there's that process.
Yeah.
You know, like, you know, yeah. He was like, oh, I know what I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. And he's been, you know, like we've both been doing that. Like even like pictures that we see that we want to take, just wait and take it. Don't just take it because
just do it. Just put some thought into it.
Exactly.
It sounds good. It sounds like you and your son are bonding over like you had that photography snatched from you, and then it's like your son's getting into it, and it's kind of like rejuvenating your old love for it.
Without a doubt. Like even like when we went to Portugal, I bought a new digital camera, but it had to be one that I could compose the pictures in black and white on the little screen.
Yeah.
I didn't want to compose it in color. I wanted to see all the
middle grays.
That's all the thing. My thing now. If I take a picture of anything that's artistic, it's in black and white.
Yeah.
No color. Color doesn't exist in my world.
Oh, I love black and white.
Black and white is just so great.
That's great. Well, I'm happy you're getting back into your creative side.
Yeah, little by little, and I've been cooking a lot more too. You know,
you're an artist with the kitchen. I attest to that. I've had many good meals with Freddie. That's an art form in itself, and
too much of an artist.
Too much of an artist. We're all putting on a couple pounds. But man, I want to thank you for talking with me, man, because I think we got like a lot of cool different things we talked about: spirituality, my screwed up head, photography.
Your head ain't half as screwed up as you think it is.
Yeah.
It's like I said, man.
How about this? We'll do this before we end, because you were my sponsor for a few years, and it was a time when I used to come and talk to you at your house like this, but without a microphone. Right. We would just talk, and then you'd always leave me after our discussion. You'd always kind of like when I used to see you in that first meeting in Sayreville. You used to wrap it up for me in a nice bow, like the things after you heard. Like, what would you say to me as I'm off today?
Just keep doing exactly what you've been doing, because it's exactly what has brought you to this point in your life, which is good. You got everything going for you.
Yeah.
You got a real job.
Yeah.
You got a job that you love doing, that you would do even if you didn't get paid to do it.
Yeah.
You got a great woman that you live with, okay? I don't know her personally. I've met her one time, but just to hear you talk about her, she's a great woman.
Yeah.
What the fuck do you got to be pissed off about? Think about that. That's what you're going out of here. You know what? Take that as your mantra to say, what the fuck do I have to be pissed off about?
Yeah.
Think about you, where you're at in your life right now. You are doing better than about 85% of the population of the earth. We don't think about this. 75% of the population of the world doesn't have a roof over their head.
Yeah.
Probably 65% of the world doesn't have electricity. And here we are, right here on the table now. There's 2 laptops, a microphone, an iPhone. You got an iPhone?
I got an iPhone.
You got two iPhones and 2 iPads. And 2 jerks.
And we're not out in the rain.
And 2 jerks.
2 jerks talking with a microphone.
And 2 jerks talking to a microphone. All we need to be real pork chops is a jug of wine. We need a jug of wine and a plate of olives on the table, right? And we'd be just like your father and my father or your grandfather, right? It's Sunday afternoon. You need a jug of wine. Grandma's got to be cooking something on the stove.
Yeah. The simple things.
Right. What the fuck? You eat every day?
Yeah, man.
You got a fucking car? You got a fucking car?
Yeah.
You got some money in your pocket?
Yeah.
You got some money in the bank?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The fuck do you have to be pissed off about?
Yeah, I know. What do I have to worry about?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. What the fuck do I have to be pissed off about?
Yeah.
You know, even like sometimes, you know, like I sometimes I'm here and I get real depressed. I get real down on myself because, you know, part of the problems I got with my legs and all were because of the weight and stuff like that. And I get pissed off because I did it to myself.
Yeah.
Even when the doctors told me you got to start losing some weight, fuck you. You don't know what you're talking about. And you know, I get depressed that I can't go out and do things, and you know, I'm you know, I need help to do other things. I need a wheelchair sometimes, you know, or when I don't have a wheelchair, I gotta walk with either the crutch or a cane. And I say to myself, you know, I got a 55-inch TV. I got surround sound, iPads, iPods, iPhones. I got electricity. I got central air. I got food in the refrigerator. I got money in the bank. I got a car that's outside and it runs and it's legal and it's got new tires on it and it's got insurance and it's got a full tank of gas. What the fuck do I have to be pissed off about?
Yes, have gratitude.
And I see people out there that exactly. It's all about gratitude. You know, be grateful for what you have. Because you could lose it all in a minute.
Yeah.
And we see people, you know, people down here over the past year that lost everything.
Yeah.
You know, here I was bitching because I didn't have electricity for 12 days. And I lost, I don't know, maybe $50 worth of groceries. Mm. And there's people that almost, it was just 200 days since the Thursday, I think, was 200 days since the storm.
Yeah.
And there's people that still haven't been in their house.
Yeah.
There's people that still haven't got paid for their car that they lost.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm gonna bitch because you know what, I could have totally got my money back from FEMA. I went out to Pennsylvania and I got a motel room for 5 days. Mm-hmm. I could have put that money into FEMA.
Yeah.
You know what, I don't need it right now.
Yeah.
I got a little bit of money in the bank. I don't need that money right now. There's people out there that need it more than I do.
Yeah.
You know, I could have gone over here and some of my neighbors went and got food. I could have gone over here and got a basket of food too. There's people that need it more than I do right now.
Yeah.
There might come a time where I need to go get some, but this isn't that time that I need to go get some.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's what it is.
It's gratitude and getting your head out of your ass. That's
you know,
because
you know, when I went to Portugal last year, like you could see, I have the Portuguese TV station on Cablevision, mm-hmm. And so I watch the news every day in Portuguese, in from Portugal.
Yeah. So
I'm watching the news, and everybody's talking about the economic crisis. Their economic crisis is even worse than ours.
Yeah.
People over there make about $600 a month. That's the standard pay for like a government employee.
Okay.
$600 a month. Yeah. Whether you've been there 10 years, whether you've been there 5 years, whether you've been there 2 months, you make $600 a month.
Yeah.
And, you know, everybody's talking about, they raised the taxes. Everyone's talking about, you know, how bad it is. We ain't got food to eat. I went over to Portugal. Everybody's at the cafe drinking lattes and eating a croissant. Everyone's got an iPhone. And everybody's fat. You know, a country where you don't got no food to eat, everyone looks like they're from Somalia.
Yeah.
No, everyone's fat over there. And this guy said to me, he says, you know, people don't have shame anymore.
Yeah?
People don't have shame anymore. We're raising a generation of kids that have no shame, mm-hmm. because the way to be successful is to get knocked up and be on MTV, 16 and Pregnant.
Yeah.
That makes you famous. You want to be famous? Be one of them Jersey Shore jerk-offs. Get drunk, get arrested, bang everybody in Seaside, and that makes you famous.
Yeah.
And that ain't what it's about.
No.
That ain't what it's about.
No.
It's about getting back to real things and being grateful for what you have and not being an asshole and having, you know, not long ago, we're not that old, Joe.
No.
But when a girl got pregnant, it was a shameful thing to her family.
Yeah.
It was a shameful thing. She went off to have the baby somewhere else, and she didn't stay in the neighborhood. And now it's on TV.
Yeah.
Now that makes you famous.
Because we like to watch it.
That makes you... You know what? There's a lot of people that like to watch it. And
it makes us feel better about
right.
ourselves. You know, it really does.
Last thing I want to be is honey fucking boo boo. So, be grateful for what you got. Believe in yourself, because nobody else is going to believe in you.
Yeah.
And if they do, it doesn't matter anyway, because until you believe in yourself, it's all bullshit.
Yeah, I gotta stop being my own worst enemy, like you said.
And use the force.
Use the force. That's a great way to end it, man. But, hey, Freddie, thanks for talking with us today.
Thanks for coming down, and thanks for asking me.
Cool, I love you, man.
I love you too, man.
Thanks. Thanks again, everybody, for tuning in for another episode. I want to thank Freddie for doing this. He's one of my favorite people in the world, and I'm definitely going to have him on a future episode. But remember, go to iTunes, subscribe, and rate the show. Even if you're not on iTunes, just go there and rate the show. It helps us move up in the charts, and it helps us get more listeners. Thanks again for listening, and thanks to all the new listeners. See you next week.